Parcc, the Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Careers, is an alliance of 24 states that are working together to develop a common set of K-12 assessments in English and math, anchored in what it takes to be ready for college and careers. Parcc is led by 16 governing board states, represented in dark blue. Governing states will pilot and field test the assessment system components and administer the new assessment system during the 2014-15 school year. Governing states will use the results from the Parcc assessments in their state accountability systems. 2 summative assessment components are planned. A performance-based assessment, administered as close to the end of year as possible, will include essays and other high-quality complex items, and an end-of-year assessment which will be computer scored, but far from traditional multiple-choice tests. There will be multi-step problems and tasks that students must complete in order to find the correct answer. It will allow for the awarding of partial credit, which gives students the opportunity to demonstrate partial mastery of standards. And there are non-summative components. There will be diagnostic assessments designed to be administered close to the beginning of the year. They will provide an early snapshot of achievement, knowledge, and standards so that educators can tailor instruction and supports for students and professional development to meet students' needs. There will be a mid-year assessment, which is performance-based, and will focus on hard-to-measure standards in the Common Core. Teachers could store this assessment to get quick feedback. These components are optional assessments. They allow for flexible administration. They can be administered at locally determined times, including at the discretion of the classroom teacher. They can be scored quickly. Some can be computer administered and scored. Others can be scored by the classroom teacher. This has been and is a state-led process. Here we see Mary Canuck's name. And there have been at least 3 rounds of feedback, and nearly 1,000 individual comments have been submitted. Information on the Parcc process and sample items can be accessed online. From the Assessment tab, follow the clear links. The links are also in your resource list. The PowerPoints that we see here can offer details into the sample items. Here, towards the bottom half of the screen, you can see the links directly to the sample items for each of those grade levels. Parcc also provides the model content frameworks, which give guidance on how focus, coherence, and practices all work together. They focus on framing the critical advances of the standards within and across grade levels. The model content frameworks for mathematics provide guidance for grades 3 through 8 and high school across a number of areas. There are examples of key advances from the previous grade, fluency expectations or examples of culminating standards, examples of major within grade dependencies, examples of opportunities for connections among standards, clusters, or domains, in-depth focus, connecting mathematical content and mathematical practices, and lastly, content emphasis by cluster. To find the model content frameworks on the Parcc site, look for the In the Classroom tab, and while you're there, also note the variety of resources available, with more under development. Here's the cover of the document. Within you will find the table of contents, and note the information arranged by grade level. Within the grade level, you will find these components. The key advances highlight some of the major grade-to-grade steps in the progressions of increasing knowledge and skill detailed in the standards. Fluency targets and culminating learning highlight certain standards that set expectations for fluency or that represent culminating masteries. The culminating masteries are guideposts for important learning progressions. Sequence or major within grade dependencies highlights cases in which a body of content within a grade level depends conceptually or logically upon another body of content within that same grade. These dependencies are specified so that materials are organized coherently within a grade level. Only large-scale dependencies are described in the framework due to space limitations. Connections among standards, clusters, or domains are highlighted for purposes of assessment, curriculum, and instruction. It is critical to connect content as much as possible. Content should not become a checklist of isolated skills and knowledge. In-depth focus highlights some individual standards that play an important role in the content of each grade. Although critical ideas are outlined for each grade level, these in-depth focus ideas give more detail with a finer lens. The in-depth treatment of these standards might include more in-depth assessment, more time, quality classroom activities, etc. Connections include examples of how students may engage in the mathematical practices as they learn the mathematics of the grade. As required by the standards, content and practices must be connected. Cluster emphasis describe the content of focus at the cluster level for each grade. These are provided so that assessment, curriculum, and instruction reflect the focus and emphasis of the standards. Major clusters will be the majority of the assessment. Supporting clusters will be assessed, but through their success of supporting the major clusters. Additional clusters will be assessed too. Suggestions are given on how to connect the major clusters with the supporting clusters in order to provide a greater focus and coherence. The intended uses of the model content frameworks include assisting in transitioning, evaluating resources, providing awareness on the balance of tasks, helping educators think more deeply about the standards, and facilitating grade-level analysis. There are many different ways teachers may use the content frameworks. An important first step after reading the standards themselves carefully would be to read the introductory section of the content frameworks. As instructional leaders, it's critical that building administrators understand the standards and how to facilitate dialogue across the school regarding their implementation. The model content frameworks, of course, provide critical guidance for curriculum development. Now remember that you can find all this information and much more at parcconline.org. These frameworks are meant to be refined over time, responsive to your needs and suggestions. And do watch the Parcc site for new developments. You can also find the place to sign up for the Parcc newsletter there, and you'll be kept informed through email. Some honest closing thoughts here. It is not easy to implement change. It takes time. It takes deliberate and thoughtful planning. But in the end, the results are worth the effort. And we all wish all of you good luck on your journey. For your assignment following this presentation, read the do's and don'ts on page 14 of the Models Content Framework document. Explore your grade level. And then in the discussion forum, share how you think the Model Contents Framework will be most useful to you at the present time.